welcome to my week 6 training recap. This week was my deload week. It was much needed. My body felt like it was starting to fall apart a little bit. On general body movements and everything, I definitely needed a chiro appointment. I seemed to have put a couple of ribs, it seems, into a bit of discomfort, so had that all fixed up. Still quite tender through the ribs, but we'll see how that improves or whether it worsens over the coming weeks. I've got chiro booked in every fortnight until the comp now. So let's jump in and look at day 1. Day 1 was my first bench day. I had 62.5 kilos for my top set. Moved really well. It was nice to feel more comfortable under the bar, and I think that this is just going to get better as the weeks go on. I had some back off sets as well. These moved really well as well. I am really super stoked with how this is all moving. I think that it's going to be interesting seeing how it changes once I am working in the upper range as I'm getting closer and closer to comp. I think that we may see some technique breakdown, but if anything, I'm hoping it's going to be minor. I also had some incline dumbbell press, got the 17.5s up for sets of 8. This felt really comfy. First time doing incline press in a few months. So I'm very happy with how these moved. I think it'll be interesting to see how they progress. I know that incline pressing is not one of my strong points. So stay tuned. We'll see how these go. Day 2 was deadlifts. Now I did these right before going to the chiro. I was in quite a bit of pain during this session. The pain's actually centering like in the top of my ribs, up behind pec minor, and also in the back around my rhomboid area. It's kind of like a constant dull ache. It did make getting tight and pulling quite uncomfortable, but top sets and my back offs moved well. I also had some paused deadlifts, which I just dropped the weight back and just moved it at 70 kilos, just focused on the movement and trying to get comfortable in it. It's been a very long time since I've done any form of paused work with deads, so it was nice to see how this went. The other thing I've been having is a niggle through the insertion where like adductor, groin, hip flexor area. That's going to be something we monitor more closely over the coming weeks. We're not sure what's going on. There's some form of, in my opinion, I think there's some form of imbalance going on. It's making it harder to get into position for deads, and it's also impacting my squats as well, which I'll talk about when we get to that section of the recap. Day 3 was my second bench session. There was lots of sets of bench, 5x3 at 60. Moved really well. I'm really stoked with how it felt after benching on Monday as well, and not having like paused bench and just doing 2 bench sessions a week. This was a really nice surprise. Really happy with how my body adapted in this session, especially considering the rib pain. I actually had to do all of these beltless after having everything adjusted on the Wednesday night. There was just absolutely no point in putting the belt on. It was causing pressure build up and it was quite uncomfortable. So I am monitoring it closely, but we'll see how this goes, as I said, over the next few weeks. My final session of the week was squats. This was my first session back in wraps in just under a year. So we had a top double at 110 and then back offs at 90. So did 2 triples at 90 as back offs. These moved really well. The one issue, as I mentioned when we looked at the deadlifts, I'm getting that pain through the hip flexor insertion on my right side in the groin area. It's at its peak when I'm in the bottom of the hole. It's not comfortable. If you watch my facial expressions, you'll see me kind of cringing a little bit. It's a weird one. I honestly think there's a muscle imbalance, or one of my muscles is overworking. It's not that a muscle is underworking. I think one is just overworking, whether it's my adductor and it's my glute that's not firing as well. I guess it's really hard to tell, but we will try and pinpoint what's going on. To mitigate this, I am trying to do some more mobility work. I'm trying to make sure my psoas is released and just trying to make sure that I am focusing on making sure my body is as comfortable as possible whilst this is happening. One thing with my squats, and I've been told this by my lovely coach, if I do not hit depth, my weight will not be going up the next week. So even more incentive to just absolutely sink it now that I'm in wraps. So let's see how they go next week, which will be my first proper session in wraps in the lead up to comp, which is about 7 weeks away now. This week's training recap. Make sure you hit subscribe, like. If you've got any tips on how to deal with this hip pain I'm having through the groin area, feel free to shoot me a message or comment, and I'm more than happy to see if there's any tips that you've got about this. So have a great week, and I'll catch you in the next recap.